Hello everyone! Today we dive into one of the most baffling unsolved mysteries of the 20th century, the Somerton Man case, also known as the Tamám Shud mystery. In 1948, the lifeless body of an unidentified man was discovered on Somerton Beach near Adelaide, Australia. Dressed neatly in a suit, with polished shoes and no signs of struggle, the man's death seemed peaceful at first glance. But what followed was a trail of clues so strange, so cryptic, that it has haunted investigators and mystery enthusiasts for decades. The story begins on December 1, 1948. Early that morning, beachgoers noticed a man lying on the sand near the seawall. At first, he appeared to be sleeping, his legs extended and his head propped against the wall. But closer inspection revealed that he was dead. He carried no wallet, no identification, and none of the clothing labels on his suit bore names or brand tags. They had all been carefully removed. The man appeared to be in his mid-40s, with a strong build, neatly combed hair, and an overall well-kept appearance. He wore a clean shirt, tie, trousers, and polished shoes, all unusual for a day at the beach. Even stranger, despite being in summer heat, he wore a warm jacket. This odd detail would later add to the confusion. The autopsy revealed more mysteries. There were no obvious signs of injury or violence. His organs, however, showed signs of congestion and internal bleeding. The doctors suspected poisoning, possibly by a rare toxin that left no trace in the system. But without conclusive evidence, the cause of death was officially listed as unknown. Then came the most puzzling clue. Months after the discovery, investigators examined the man's belongings once again. Hidden in a small fob pocket of his trousers, they found a tightly rolled scrap of paper. On it were the printed words Tamám Shud, which is Persian for ended or finished. The words had been torn from the final page of a book of poetry called the Rubáiyát of Omar Khayyám. This discovery transformed the case from a tragic, unidentified death into one of the world's greatest mysteries. Police scoured the area, looking for the book from which the phrase had been torn. Astonishingly, a local man came forward, saying he had found a copy of the Rubáiyát, yet tossed into the back seat of his parked car near Somerton Beach around the time of the death. Inside that book, detectives found a torn-out section that matched perfectly with the scrap of paper in the dead man's pocket. Even more chilling, the book contained strange handwritten codes, sequences of letters arranged in patterns that resembled encryption. The mystery deepened. Was the Somerton Man a spy, an agent caught in Cold War espionage? Theories multiplied. Some suggested he had been poisoned by a lover, others that he was part of an intelligence operation gone wrong. The late 1940s were the early days of the Cold War, and Adelaide was near a top secret military testing site. Could the man have been a spy carrying secret messages hidden in the poetry book? Or was he a man involved in a tragic romance, leaving behind only cryptic words of farewell? Adding to the intrigue was a connection to a woman. Police traced the book to a nurse named Jessica Thompson, who lived near the spot where the man was found. When investigators showed her the book, she reportedly turned pale, but she denied knowing the man. Still, suspicions lingered. Did she know him? Was there a secret affair? Was he the father of her child? Later DNA studies on her descendants suggested possible genetic links, though nothing was conclusive. The case grew colder as years passed, but it never disappeared from public imagination. The image of the weld, rest stranger on the beach, the cryptic note in his pocket, and the mysterious codes in the poetry book continue to spark theories. Every clue seemed to lead to more questions, not answers. The Somerton Man was buried in Adelaide, with a tombstone that simply reads, "Here lies the unknown man who was found at Somerton Beach, 1st December 1948. But even in death, his story was not finished. Forensic experts, amateur sleuths, and journalists kept the case alive, searching for his identity and the truth of his demise. The story of the Somerton Man only grew stranger as investigators tried to piece together the clues left behind. The small scrap of paper with the words Tamám Shud suggested finality, perhaps even a deliberate farewell. But was it a message from the man himself or from someone else? The discovery of the Rubáiyát of Omar Khayyám was perhaps the most tantalizing clue of all. Within the book were sequences of random letters written in pencil. Investigators believed they were a code, possibly related to espionage. Cryptographers from around the world attempted to break the code, but to this day, no one has successfully deciphered its meaning. Some experts argue it could have been an acrostic, with each letter standing for a word. Others believe it was meaningless scribbles, the product of a troubled mind. The link to Jessica Thompson added yet another layer of mystery. When police visited her, she seemed startled, even frightened, when shown the dead man's likeness. Though she insisted she did not know him, her reaction made detectives suspicious. Her phone number was found written in the back of the book, making it impossible to dismiss her connection entirely. Jessica lived just blocks away from Somerton Beach, and her proximity made her a central figure in the case. Some theories suggest the Somerton Man and Jessica had once been lovers. Jessica had a son who, according to some observers, bore a striking resemblance to the Somerton Man, particularly with a rare genetic trait known as hypodontia, missing incisors. Could the unknown man have been the child's father, returning to see him one final time? Or was he silenced because of a secret affair that would have destroyed reputations? The espionage theory remains one of the strongest. In the late 1940s, Australia was deeply involved in Cold War intelligence operations. The city of Adelaide was close to the Woomera Test Range, a highly secretive military research facility. It is entirely possible that the Somerton Man was a spy, caught in the dangerous game of espionage. His death by poisoning, the cryptic code, and the torn note all align with the shadowy tactics of intelligence work. If this is true, then his death may have been part of a larger hidden conflict. Over the decades, many attempts have been made to uncover the Somerton Man's identity. His body was embalmed shortly after discovery, preserving it for further study. In later years, forensic experts analyzed his hair, clothing, and even his mitochondrial DNA. Though some leads pointed toward European ancestry and possibly connections to America, no definitive identification has been made. One breakthrough came in the 21st century when researchers applied modern genealogical DNA analysis to samples taken from the man's hair. In 2022, Professor Derek Abbott and his team announced that they had identified the Somerton Man as Carl Charles O. Webb, an electrical engineer and instrument maker from Melbourne who had disappeared around the same time. If true, this revelation answers the question of identity, but still leaves the cause of death shrouded in mystery. Why did Webb end up on Somerton Beach, carrying no identification, with the haunting words Tamám Shud in his pocket? Even with this possible identification, the mystery is far from solved. If he was Charles Webb, what led to his strange demise? Was it suicide, as some suggest, with the note representing his farewell? Or was he poisoned by someone who wanted him silenced, perhaps for reasons tied to espionage or personal conflict? The cryptic code in the book remains unsolved, keeping alive the possibility that darker forces were at play. The Somerton Man case continues to fascinate because it lies at the crossroads of so many possibilities. It could be a tragic tale of lost love, a Cold War spy thriller, or a simple suicide wrapped in misunderstood clues. Each theory has its believers, and each offers tantalizing but incomplete answers. In popular culture, the Somerton Man has become a symbol of the unsolved, a reminder that even in the modern age, with all our science and technology, mysteries endure. Books, documentaries, and films have explored his story, often highlighting the haunting image of the man in a suit, lying lifeless on a summer beach, with secrets forever untold. Today, the grave of the Somerton Man still stands in Adelaide. Visitors leave flowers, notes, and tributes, keeping alive the memory of the unknown stranger. For some, he represents the fragility of human life and the secrets we carry. For others, he embodies the allure of the unsolved, a puzzle that refuses to yield its final truth. As we close this exploration, we are left with more questions than answers. Who exactly was the Somerton Man? Why did he die in such strange circumstances? Was it love, espionage, or personal despair that ended his life? Though science may one day confirm his identity and origins, the enigma of his death The scrap of poetry, the cryptic code, and the silent secrets of Somerton Beach may never fully be resolved. The mystery endures, reminding us that not all stories end neatly, and some secrets remain buried, waiting for eternity.